welcome to the Billy Rickman Show. Today I have Amanda Gore. Now I first got introduced to Amanda Gore 6 months ago at a speaking conference, and by the end of her presentation she had everybody singing, dancing, hugging and even kissing in the aisles. You don't believe me? Well, today you're going to find out all about Amanda Gore. Stay tuned, this is the Billy Rickman Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Billy Rickman Show. Today I have one of my favourite humans for the past 6 months. And I say for the past 6 months because, to be perfectly honest, I only really got introduced to Amanda about 6 months ago. I went to a conference on the Gold Coast, and I had sat there through keynote speaker after keynote speaker, and they were all talking about digital marketing and emailing and follow-up calls and all these strategies. And then we got to the very end of the day, and they said, we want to welcome to the stage the last speaker of the day, Amanda Gore.
Person in the room.
Yeah, exactly. And then up you came, and then they started saying a little bit of background about Amanda, and you said, no, we don't have time for any of that. We don't have time for that. Let's just move on. And I was sitting there again. I think by the end of the day, I was a little bit exhausted, and I was like, wait a minute. And you certainly caught my attention. And then immediately, as soon as you started talking, I was like, this is fun. And you got us, talking to the person next to us. And then by the end of it, I think we were all singing and dancing and hugging and kissing. And something totally...
People won't come. They'll be going, oh, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Or they'll miss your section now. They can't because you're the first speaker. And so, and it's so funny, actually, interestingly, the people who I had either side of me, just for your benefit, I still keep in touch with them now because we added each other on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I still talk to them. Yeah.
That's a reflection on you, not on anything else. Go you, Billy, because everybody gets that opportunity. And very few people take it up. And if you want a resilience buddy or an accountability buddy to work on your life, not just in your life, you have to make the effort. And
yes.
You've done it. And
absolutely.
You're in that little tiny piece at the top of the bell curve.
Yes, I remember that.
A growth mindset. And so they actually take action. I mean, look at you. You're like 12 compared with me. And look at what you're jumping onto this salon growth opportunity, and you're creating it. You're not just waiting for someone else to do it. And that's an enormous honor for me to see such a young, dynamic person doing these things.
Thank
I
you.
promise you, when I'm on stage, if you're looking at this and you're like 12, it's not boring.
It's definitely not. And
even if I'm old.
Exactly. And so I didn't actually get a chance to finish the intro where I said your name. So it's Amanda Gore. And so welcome to the show, Amanda Gore.
Hi.
From the Joy Project. And we're going to talk about Zooties in a second and what they are. But Amanda, for people who don't know you, and like I said, I didn't know you, and then I went on YouTube afterwards and found out that you're actually very, very well followed. You've got a lot of subscribers and you influence a lot of people. So for people who don't know who you are and what you do, can you give us a quick summary about where it all started from you, your experience, what you do these days, and how you came to be this amazing speaker?
Wow, they might want to get a pillow. It's so boring. I'm actually a physio, and I graduated 12,000 years ago and worked in hospitals, and then I morphed into, and I love being a physio. Physio is a fabulous occupation, and it prepares you for an awful lot of other things in life because of psychology and science, so it was a good blend. And that just reminded me, I'll turn my phone off too.
I was pressing mute on mine.
Phone's off. And then I moved into ergonomics and occupational health. So it meant that I was working in industry and looking at risks, really, risk management. And then I met a guy one day when I had co-authored a book on, basically, it was called The Office Athlete. So it was one of the first books that came out on how to keep people healthy at work. And I was invited to speak at a conference on it, and this fellow who was a professional speaker said, you should be a speaker. And I said, what's a speaker? I'm a physio. And 35 years later, here I am, having lived in America, and I travel selectively these days, and my content has also morphed too. So for those of you who are listening, if you wonder what you're going to get out of it, with the rich background of the physiological and psychological basis that you end up studying with physio, and then the life experiences. I've been taken to the clean. I did very well as a speaker, I should say. And then I was taken to the cleaners by someone. And but I was culpable too because I wasn't paying attention. I didn't want to pay attention.
Right,
And
it's accountability of yourself, right?
and like all millionaires, they've all lost it once at least.
Yeah.
I went through that, and that was in fact the prompt for me to move to America, which I never would have done. And as a consequence, I had a wonderful time in America with many amazing experiences and opportunities to speak with, you know, people that you read about and see on TV. And all of that has led me through different life experiences, a couple of divorces, you know, as you do. And to package it up, you know, the final kind of umbrella term that I came up with a few years ago, which continues to morph, I might add, was on joy. And I wrote a book called Joy is an Inside Job. And the reason we have the Joy Project is because I was passionate about teaching children some of the things I taught adults. I started speaking because I was passionate about people not having to be in pain, because they don't. If they are taught what to do beforehand, they don't have to have pain and then a disabled life or a interrupted life. And it's the same with emotions. If you understand what's going on and you get some insight and you're willing to look inside yourself, then you can make dramatic changes in your life. And Michael Gerber wrote a book called The E-Myth many years ago. But in his book, he talks about most entrepreneurs fail. And this is our audience. All the people out there are pretty much entrepreneurs.
Right.
Because they're too busy working in their businesses and they're not working on their businesses. And that's why coming to salon growth is such a great idea, because you're actually consciously, and that's the big piece, consciously taking time out from working in your business, even though you might be saying to yourself, oh my God, I can't afford this, I can't do this. Oh, it's not gonna. Just do it, because you will come and you will work on your business and on yourself, and you'll find that afterwards things blossom. And
I love that. I love that, and it's one of the reasons why I think you were so memorable from Digital Marketer. Apart from your hilarious jokes and whatnot, but you were memorable because it really focused a lot, not just on the business side, but you really said, you know, you spoke then about being an entrepreneur is working on your business, not just in it, but also working on yourself and not just internally within your day to day. And I think a lot of the presentation you gave that day was really taking note and having a look at yourself and saying, do I work enough on myself? Am I joyful? Am I happy? Am I smiling inside and not just on the outside, but on the inside as well? And I really, really love that. And I still, it's been 6 months, maybe more actually now. And I still remember that about your presentation, which is one of the key reasons I wanted you to come to SalonGrowthCon, because I want 1,500 people who are going to be there to have that same feeling that I had when I left your presentation. And I don't want to say too much about it, because in case you're going to reuse some of the jokes and the actions and things like that. So I don't want to go too much into it, which I could, because it made me feel amazing.
Tons of content. But you know, Billy, the other thing that happens, I spent 35 years studying group dynamics with a man called Michael Grinder, who is the brother of the co-founder of NLP. And he is a genius, nonverbal genius. And when you're presenting, and this matters if you're at Salon Growth and in your own business, there is a big difference between the content you deliver and how you deliver the content. That's the process. The process by which it's delivered is pretty much everything. Of course, we have rubbish content, it doesn't matter. But when you're speaking to your staff or your team, hopefully you call them your team, or your clients, remember that there's always the process and the content. So it's what you're saying, but it's also how you're saying it. And more importantly, it's what you're saying to yourself. It's the story that's going on inside your head about the other people. So if you're talking to somebody, and you know this happens so much, like you're standing there and your client from hell is walking towards you, and you think, oh no, not today. Oh, but please no. And then they're 2 inches in front of you, and you go, hello. Bad news is that they know. They always know. In fact, I mean, I had no plan to do this, Billy, but we might as well.
Let's do it.
You've heard that nonverbal communication is 80 to 93% of everything we communicate.
Okay, yeah.
It's, you know, if you walk into a place and you meet someone and you think, oh, gee, they seem really nice, but I don't know, something wasn't quite right. Something didn't quite click. That's because your innate wisdom picked up the story that they're telling themselves inside their heads about either you or themselves, and you picked up the incongruence. And before I describe how I normally talk about this, really one of the things with Salon Growth that I was reflecting on is that, in essence, when you're giving people an opportunity to work on their business and on their lives, which you're doing, you're creating a chrysalis in which they can come, and some of it might break them down into black gooey stuff that's not very pleasant, but what emerges from that is extraordinarily beautiful. And so if people are willing to come in with an open heart and an open mind, and you're willing to, and this is for any of you who are watching this and you're thinking, oh, I don't need to go, have another look at the story you're telling yourself about it, because there are many, many articles coming out, scientific articles coming out now on loneliness and social isolation and the importance of personal growth and development in any business. So if you're a leader of a salon, if you own salons, then know that your staff want to be grown and developed. And most importantly, they want to be felt cared for. And if you've got a problem child and you don't know how to deal with that problem child, you'll get ideas, I imagine, from Salon Growth. And even if it's not a keynote, by talking to other people about issues you're dealing with, and they know exactly the environment you're in, then life changes and your business changes. So if any of you are sitting there thinking, I've got time, I've got the money, I haven't got this, I haven't got that, stop it right now. And I'm not doing a job for Billy. He didn't say to me beforehand, flog the
Definitely not.
Amanda. He definitely didn't do that. I'm just passionate about people actually working on themselves, because you don't want to end up 45 miserable and going, I hate my life, and it's your fault. And worse, you don't want to be 65 going, I hated my life. I don't even have a bucket list anymore. It was pointless. You are in a phase in your life where you are in total control. You are in total control of you, how you respond, what you think, and what you do. Now, the environment around you might be different, but you're the one in charge of what you think and you do every day. So, which leads me back to the stories. When I talk about nonverbal communication, most people think it's body language, but it's not. If you cross your arms, it's a bit hard to show on the Zoom thing, but if you cross your arms, very often that's postural habit. People don't even know they're doing it. And if they cross their legs as well, most people will go, oh, they're totally shut off to you. Well, no, not necessarily. Often they're busting to have a pee. The way I describe it is that we all walk around with invisible fish bowls on our heads, and in these fish bowls are sparkly bits. And my sparkly bits and your sparkly bits talk to each other all the time. And if what comes out of my sparkly bits, what I'm thinking, what my story is inside my head, doesn't match what's coming out of my mouth, you always pick up sparkly bits, always. And I just happen to have these that I got. If you imagine that you're wearing these and everyone else is wearing them, and in the salon, if you buy tinsel's really cheap right now, buy tinsel and wrap it around, a little piece around every station to remind, and then you can watch me doing this, show your staff this video or show them a video of me on my YouTube channel.
This will be the thumbnail, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
You with it.
These bobbing around.
Yeah.
These are how men get to be sleazebags. And I'm talking about the average bloke, not everybody, obviously not the ones listening, but men get to be...
Or the one you're talking to.
Yeah, or the one you're talking to, that's right. And out of their mouths come the words, my, what an intelligent, attractive, charming woman you are. And men sparkly bits, I go, fool, great tits. And nobody tells men this, that we know. And women don't get accused of being sleazebags, because honestly, when we talk to men, we don't stand there and go, oh, great crotch, mate. Oh, here, beauty. What we do is you walk away and you don't pick them up as much. And I can do that with tens of thousands of people in a room and everyone claps because it's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Not have a thought inside your head, a story you're telling yourself about anyone else that you're interacting with, and have them not pick it up. So, like I said, your least favorite client walks in and you're saying hi, but inside your head, the message is, today. And the problem is, you are there all the time. So whoever's looking at you and talking to you doesn't pick up anything except these. So it doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth, they don't like you.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're good. Or if they had another place to go, they'd go there. So the trick is to become conscious of what you're telling yourself and change it and become a good finder. So, if there's somebody that you intensely dislike, find one thing that's good about them and focus on that. And when you're with them, and I'm no saint. I don't have as many these days, but every so often there's a person I come across that I have to interact with that I just can't put my finger on why I don't like them, but I don't like them. And so last week I forced myself to find something good about this person. And when I was with them, I focused on that one good thing. Now, the interesting difference is that at some level that person would have picked it up, but I felt way better. I left the interaction not as stressed as I was.
Yeah.
So most of these things where you work on yourself, not just in your life, are the things that transform your business and transform everything that you do in your life.
Well, just on that point, I sent an email out yesterday to my database saying that, you were saying before about some people who are saying, oh, I can't afford it and all these sort of things. So as a team, we sit here and we go, okay, what are some of the objections that people may have? And of course, price is always one of them, especially if you're flying interstate, they've got accommodation, travel and all that sort of stuff. And so yesterday we launched this thing. We've created some payment plan options for people so they can actually pay it off. It's 4 months ago, 4.5 months ago, they can pay it off. And I sent this email out, and then this one person this morning emailed me back saying, "Stop scamming people, you scammer, with your tickets." Right? And then so I just kind of ignored it. And then 10 minutes later, the same person emailed me again saying, "Stop selling your lies," or something like this. And so I was like, "Who is this person?" And so I looked on Instagram, I looked on Facebook. No, there's no following there. I checked previous correspondence. There's never been any communication. And, not 10 years ago, but a couple of years ago, I would have got annoyed and angry about it. I went, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. But I working on myself, which I have been, I do all the time. I just wrote back to her and I said, dear such and such, obviously you've got some hurt in your life right now, which is why you've responded like this. All I can do is send you my love and hope that you find happiness so you can communicate with people better in the future. All my best wishes, from Billy, right? And but it's the same thing. Like I just find what's that?
Did you hear back?
Not yet. No, this is only about an hour ago. But it's the same thing. Like I don't allow negativity and anger and aggression or any of those things into my life anymore. And you're right. It's the consciousness of it. It's the consciousness of stop. Just try and have some empathy for some people in different situations and try and find the good in anything. And if there is no good in that situation, if they're genuinely just a nasty person, then at least you walk away and your heart's full and you just go, whatever, I wish them well. I hope they do well.
And that's very mature. I just said to Billy before we started this that I'd be very proud if he were my son because of what he's done. And that would make me even prouder hearing him say that. Because probably I'm 64, and that was horrible. I nearly said 65. Anyway, and my life, of course, I haven't mastered everything yet, but I have seen many, many things. And probably one of the biggest issues I see people dealing with is how they feel about themselves. And the problem is, if someone feels crappy, like that person who wrote to you, they cannot be a happy person and they won't feel good about themselves. Rather than looking internally and having the courage, because it does take courage to face what's going on, they lash out and blame other people. And, there's a truckload of people out there who choose to blame and make excuses. And they're people with a fixed mindset. And we'll talk a little bit about this during the session. But what you really want to have in life is a growth mindset. And you know, it sounds obvious: growth mindset, fixed mindset. You know, you think your IQ's stuck, you think your life is stuck, people don't change, no, it's not going to work, negative Nellies. Where you have the people who actually recognize that change happens all the time, but we have to want to change. And then they do the work to change. And growth mindset doesn't just transform your environment, like in the chrysalis, it literally changes your physiology. It changes your genetics. Epigenetics is a new field of science that we'll touch on that teaches us it isn't stress that makes us sick. It's what we believe about stress. So recognizing what you believe about different things, and really a belief is a story. So we cycle back to what's the story you're telling yourself. In terms of sparkly bits, do you look at other people and honor them? Because your reply to that person was, you know, it was honoring. You may have made a bit of an assumption. So I'll even say this while we're on air because it'll help other people. I think the first sentence, you know, what you say, Billy, like you're having problems in your life or something like that.
Oh no, I said I hope that I forget what I said actually. It was like hey such and such, thanks for your email. Yeah, I did make an assumption. Said obviously you're going through something or upset about something right now or something along those lines. Yeah.
But the sweet thing is you just recognized it. So you, and when so you're in the right place, your heart was in the right place, and that's yet another layer that you add to it. So and it's probably the truth. The person is going through a bad time, and they choose not to look at it themselves. But if they can lash out at someone else, oh, way better. You know, especially relatively anonymous someone else. If it was
I've never met them.
And so responding the way you did will annoy them at some stage, but your heart was in the right place, so your sparkly bits were in the right place.
Yeah.
Now, if you or anyone that's listening writes an email that you think sounds great, but you're writing thinking assholes as you're typing, then that's what's coming out. They're going berserk. And they'll come out in the words, which they didn't in yours, Billy. So I'm not saying this for you. It was extending what you had done and extrapolating it so other people can get value from it. And the other really good thing about you doing that was that you actually responded, and you responded with care, and you didn't just dismiss them as, oh, you know, psycho.
Yeah.
And that takes courage. And that, that's this morning.
Well, hopefully, I mean, I think it is easy. It's no different than a you know, what they call them, like, you know, keyboard warriors. Because sometimes people just assume that there's not a real person at the other end of that. And yeah, it was a broadcasted email. It was an email sent out to 5,000 people, what have you. But at the end of the day, I took the time to write that email. It was just distributed widely. But when people reply, sometimes it doesn't matter if it's Twitter, Facebook Messenger, and Facebook post. People just forget sometimes there's actually another human being at the other end of that. And you know, and my reply to her, I could have wrote back and go, "Who do you think you are?" and blah blah blah. But then sometimes you do have to remember that there's also another person at the other end of that email as well. And so, but that's not something, you know, you said before you've made mistakes and you're certainly not pure and you've done things in your past. And likewise, this is something in the last couple of years I've certainly been working on it myself because of, I think at the start of my business career, there was some ego involved and there was, you know, I wanted to take on the world and things like that. And I thought there was one way that you could take on the world, which was just domination and you know, those sorts of things. But it's something in the last couple of years I've really been trying to work on myself and try to create a better version of me. And certainly I do things wrong all the time, but at least every day I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday anyway.
Well, see, that's fabulous. And I just hung up before a Zoom call with a client who's a fabulous leader. I mean, I haven't met him, but I can tell by talking to him on the phone, he's a fabulous leader. And he was exactly personifying what you were talking about, Billy. And he was encouraging his team to make mistakes. Not massive ones, but anyway. Mistakes are the best way to learn. God knows I still make tons of mistakes, but I'm getting better at observing the story that I'm telling myself and questioning that story to see if it's really true. And certainly the more I learn and grow in life. You know, most people are 64, I suppose, they don't want to learn and grow anymore, but it's always been one of my core values. And not so long ago, maybe 6-8 months ago now, I started at another course called The Gathering by an astonishing man called Dr. David Martin, whose website is davidmartin.world. And David manages to create, well, his course called The Gathering is truly a chrysalis. Man, you get really black and blobby and you know, if you want to do, I mean, you can do it at any level you want. I'm done. I wanted to sort out all the crap that I had in my life. I was over the crap. I wanted to find out who I was, what I was supposed to be doing, and just really feel joyful because I was feeling such a fraud. I'd written this book and I was miserable. I was in a miserable marriage. So I embarked on that, and it's really been transformative. And one of the most important lessons I learned that I'm sharing now is that when I was 2, I told myself a story. It's a long story, and I may or may not use it at Salon Growth, but, you know, I lived in India with my parents and until I was 5, and my father was an alcoholic, and my mum was incredibly beautiful and, you know, a lovely person. What I found out when she died was that so this is when she was 81, when she died a million years later, that she had actually left us when we were in India for a year. And during that time, I was molested by an Indian guy. Now, I had no memory of any of this, none. But what I did find out at David's course was that it happened, and that I told myself at the precise moment it happened that I was responsible for me. There was no one else around. I would always have to be responsible for me. And as a 2-year-old, when you don't have the capacity to understand what's going on and you don't have any support from anyone, then that's logical to a 2-year-old. But I told that story to myself, and that became the truth for me. And I extended that not into just I was responsible for me, but that I was responsible for everyone else. And then I threw in a bit of narcissism, because I was responsible for anybody else, and I could fix you whether you want to be fixed or not. Whether you want to be fixed or not, I would just badger you until I fixed you. And, you know, they're hard things to look at. Now, I knew I did that sort of stuff, and I had tried to stop it, but I couldn't. And I didn't even know I was doing it half the time. But when I did the course and we nailed the moment it started, I, from that moment on, have been able to catch myself better when I'm doing it. And once or twice, maybe since then, I've actually asked somebody if they'd like me to help them. And, you know, for a change. And it's made a big difference. So to have some takeaway value from this session, not just your sparkly bits, because everything you're saying to yourself, you don't have to say it out loud. It's screaming out of you.
Yeah.
How many times you walked into a room and you know something's wrong?
Yeah.
And you go, what's wrong? Nothing.
I
And you know something's wrong, big time.
say it about business all the time. It's like, you know, you've done a lot of psychology. You know that TV shows on the ABC? It's called The Gruen Transfer. Do you know what the Gruen Transfer is?
No.
The Gruen Transfer, psychologically, is when you walk into Maya, for example, and as soon as you cross that threshold, you get hit by the lights and the smells and the sounds and everything. That is the Gruen Transfer. And for females, it's a pleasurable experience. It causes the brain to release endorphins, and it's pleasurable. For men, it causes anxiety and stress. So when men say they really don't like going shopping, they actually really don't like going shopping. And so I say this to people all the time about the Gruen Transfer as well, and imagining their own business has a Gruen Transfer, and saying, and like when you walk into a business, it doesn't matter if you're in a busy Westfield with 150 shops or whatever it is, and you walk into the news agency, as soon as you step over that threshold, you can feel if that business is not a good business to be in, if the staff are stressed and overwhelmed and not coping, or you walk in, you go, and all the staff are like, hey, and you go, oh, I like being here. This is quite nice. And it's so true. Everything screams out. The energy and the things that come from people and radiate from people is just it's so obvious, and we don't take it into consideration like we should do.
Well, essentially, the culture in your salon is a frequency. So, we're giant electromagnetic machines, essentially. And around every electric current, there's a magnetic field. So what's going out of your sparkly bits and your heart is basically a magnetic field. And so when you're creating an environment in your salon, if you allow politics to get in the way, allow people to go, she's a bitch, she's the bigger bitch. If you allow all of that, and one of the hard things about being a salon owner is that many of them don't get leadership training. And my ex-husband, with whom I'm still really great friends, by the way, is a brilliant leader. Brilliant. He wrote a book called The People Pill that won a leadership book award over Seth Godin's book Tribes and Peter Drucker's latest book.
Wow.
He did it all by engaging people. So he coaches people on how to create an environment in which people can be the best they can be. And in a salon, if you honor and respect everyone, you don't think, oh, it's the worst apprentice in the world, or, God, I haven't got time for this, just leave me alone. Whatever it is that you might be doing. And most hair salons are psychological salons. We all know that. And so your masters are dealing with things, but you can't be talking to somebody thinking, you did what? You did what? You that was a dumb thing to do. But out of your mouth's coming, oh, wow, God, great. Or somebody starts on another tragedy they've got, and they're a victim type person. And it's so hard when you're tired not to go into, such a tragic thing. Your mouth's going, oh no, that's terrible, you poor thing. They don't pick it up. And then that translates into what you said. So the entire culture in the organization has a frequency. And people will walk in and go, wow, this is a fun place to be, isn't it? And it starts with the music you play and the lighting, and like you just said, and with the amount of respect you have for each other and how much you honor each other and how grateful you are for your customers and clients, and on and on and on. Every little thing, like a cauldron. Here's your salon, it's the cauldron, and you're putting in all these elements, and you're either going to make a really tasty, yummy stew or a witch's brew.
I love that. I love it. I could talk about this subject actually all day, something I'm really passionate about. I know you have to go though. I can see your eyes there, which maybe means you.
And people won't be listening for longer. Friends will be going, how much longer is this going on?
No, definitely not. I could honestly talk about it all day. I love it. And I love everything that you talk about. And honestly, I can't wait to see you present again come June. I'm really, really excited.
You made my day. Thank you.
Next time we do one of these, I'm going to hunt those down. I'm going to get one of my team to go hunt those down. We're going to do a dual one together on the next time we do a presentation.
This is where I got them. Bunnings.
I'm onto it. Is there anything they don't sell? Honestly.
They didn't sell these. These were on their heads for, I don't know, some promotion. And I begged one of the employees to give them to me. I tried to find them again, but I can't find them. But they're really good. They're very distracting, but they're good.
I love it. So, Miss Amanda Gore, if people want to know more about you and where to find some more of this awesome content you've given me today, where do they go?
Well, if you want to watch the videos, you can go to Amanda Gore TV on YouTube, or you can go to amandagore.com. And a gazillion blogs, and you can sign up for the newsletter and buy a book or a DVD or just read stuff. Or
I love it.
Throw darts at it.
whatever, wherever they're at in their own mind.
That's right, but your computer probably wouldn't like it much.
No, it's broken now. So they can go to amandagore.com, and also there was something else I was going to say about that, which has slipped my mind right now. But if they want to come, that was it. And at SalonGrowthCon, just to let everybody else know that you are the very first speaker of the day. So you're going to, and the reason why is because I believe in everything you do, and I think you'll set the tone for the entire weekend. And I think you're fantastic and wonderful and fabulous and all of those amazing things. And I want to thank you for being on the show today. And I can't wait for June.
Thank you for all that lovely, honest support. And for the rest of you, it's going to be important for you, because if you come to that first session, then by the time we finish, because we work on the process, not just the content, you'll have left all the stress behind, and you'll have your heart and your mind open for learning. And you'll be ready to work on yourself and on your business. So do it as a favor to yourself. And congratulations again, Billy, on doing it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And for all you guys on YouTube, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that notification bell and subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit share. Share it amongst your platforms. And if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And also, what I want you to do is take a screenshot of the podcast right now. I'm watching. I'm waiting. Do it right now. Take a screenshot. Good. And now I want you to share that screenshot on your social channels. Tag myself and Amanda in it. Let us know you've shared it. And if you have any questions, please comment on the post below. We'll be happy to answer questions.
That's really good, Billy. That's clever.
There you go.
Out there too. And I look forward to meeting you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda. Have a great day. And I look forward to June. Let's do it.
Big hug.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you love this video, please make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. And also, if you have not yet got your tickets for SalonGrowthCon 2019, make sure you do. Go to the link that's in the description below, because I do not want you to miss out on this amazing event.